There's room for all of us to shine. There's room for all of us to be blessed. There's this great big world that God created for us to live in. Just be yourself in your own area. And every now and again, you might meet someone who does something the same that you do. Because I have other designer friends, graphic designer friends, but we ain't sitting up there competing and trying to overpower the other one. And I'm gonna try to outdo them. We just in our own area. They're in another area. I'm doing my thing over here. They doing their thing over there. We don't have to compete. We don't have to envy. We don't have to try to one up the other. Just do what you do where you do it. And then let other people do what they do where they doing it. You know, no enmity. No disrespect. My book, Love Check, How Do You Measure Up? The title sounds, it might sound a little bit like, almost like you're pointing a finger, making you feel like you're weighing other people or you're judging other people or judging yourself. It's really not exactly that. It's really more of a gauge to let us look at ourselves and look at others and how we relate to other people based on how God describes love and how he intended for love to be. You know, I've experienced what it's like for some people to tell you, I love you, and then they don't back up what they're saying, or they're not really reflecting love. And I looked at my own self and I said, oh, wait a minute, God's describing love this way, and I'm not doing quite what he's saying and how he's describing love either. So it's a wake-up call, and it's something to make us look inward. And when we start working on ourselves and changing ourselves from the inside, our world changes on the outside, and not only that, we start affecting other people. That's the theme that I saw definitely in both of these films. Like, I was amazed. What is keeping this woman going? What is making her fight? What is making her stand? What is making Wakanda carry on like they doing in the midst of all this? I mean, being attacked on every hand, being, overcome with your emotions, but something kept them going. And so I look at it now, it's like, it's faith, it's determination, it's willpower, it's that inner God strength, it's love though, on top of it all. Because like y'all know I always say there's nothing more powerful than love. That's the most powerful force in the world. Why? Because God is love. And so when you see these women doing that, these men fighting like they're fighting, going hard in these films, love is definitely a factor. Reach down deep, find out where your history is, what your people are about, where you come from, the stock you come from, what they did, what they believe in, where they come from, what qualities you inherited. What about them is like you? Find the connection, find the pattern in your bloodline. If it's a good pattern, that's a good thing. If it's a bad pattern, then it could be a generational thing, a generational curse. If alcohol addiction, some kind of addiction is in your bloodline and you don't like it, break that chain, break that curse. If abuse of some kind, women who allow themselves to be abused, tends to be attracted to abusive men is in your line, break that curse. A certain illness that seems hereditary, if your family is prone to getting some kind of health problem that you know is caused by the way you've been taught to eat and to live your life, break that curse. So it's like, break that chain right now. Stop it with you. So, it's so much that you can learn from your history. Never stop exploring. Never stop exploring who you are, not just in your family bloodline, but who you are in Christ. God created the heavens and the earth. The Bible says that the earth is his footstool. So think about that. A God so big that the earth is like his footrest. But then think about this God who created the heavens and the earth. And guess what? The earth as we know it and the 9 planets that we know of, they're situated in our galaxy, which we refer to as the Milky Way, right? And you got all these billions and billions of stars all around us, right, that we know about. But guess what? This is just one galaxy out of billions. Do you understand that God has created billions and billions of galaxies? I've heard this in the hundreds of billions of galaxies outside of the one that we know of in the Milky Way. So think about a God that's that big, right? And then he tells us to cast our cares on him. What does that tell you? It's because he can handle it. Think about your problem, your biggest problem, from that perspective of a God that's that big. And I guarantee you that your problem won't look so big anymore when you think about a God who's on your side, and a God who created the heavens and earth, and a God who loves you. And he's that big, and he controls all of these things. But yet he's close. And yet he lives on the inside of you. And that he says, I'll never leave you nor forsake you. And yet he says that I'm with you always to the end of the age. And he says that no weapon formed against you shall prosper. He says, I love you with an everlasting love. When you think about a God like that, understand that your problems are never bigger than your God. Okay? So I hope that blessed you. I hope that encourages you today. And I hope it makes you smile today. Knowing that your God is on your side, knowing that God is good, knowing that Jesus said he is the way, the truth, and the life. He is the way, the truth, and the life. He is the way, the truth, and the life. And he's on our side, y'all. Now, after seeing this film a few times, I wanted to read the book, and I found out that the author, Margot Lee Shetterly, actually wrote, the book is about 300 and some pages, but then she did a children's version of the same book. And I thought this book was awesome because it's a picture book. And so it's illustrated with beautiful, colorful photos. It's an excellent resource because it makes it very down to earth, easy to understand, and the information is condensed down to 40 pages. So it's definitely recommended for children or even adults who just want a quick digest of the information surrounding the story of those 4 women. The children's version of the book is called Hidden Figures, the true story of 4 Black women and the space race. In the film, there are only 3 women listed. That's Dorothy Vaughan, Mary Jackson, and Katherine Goebbels Johnson. But actually, there was a 4th woman. The 4th woman was named Christine Darden. It amazes me during that time period how they were able to have that kind of intellect. Because, I mean, you hear about child geniuses today. You hear about all these, extremely smart people today. And there's so much available to us to strengthen those natural talents. And some people are just born with natural abilities like that. Some of us are talented and gifted or learn at a higher level than others. And, that's a blessing. That's a God-given blessing. But still, there is education opportunities. There's technological advances, all kinds of things that help us today, way more than they did back then. So it just baffles me when I see this film and see how just intelligent, very smart that these girls were. So here these women are, and they really fit that title, Hidden Figures. The story, for example, the story just came out a few years ago. We didn't even know about these women. You've heard throughout history, if you're an African American particularly, how Caucasians in some instances in history have taken the credit for certain things that Black people invented, or Black people started, or Black people worked hard to accomplish, or whatever, and their name ends up being the name that goes down in history as the ones who founded something, created something, made something, whatever, art or whatever the field may be. And so that can be disheartening as a African American when you do the work that it takes. You still want to be acknowledged when you do something. If you participate in something, it's not arrogant or crazy or selfish or weird for you to want your name to be acknowledged. Psalms 139 Read that when you get a chance. Read Psalms 139. In fact, I'm going to read some of it to you now, because this chapter just goes to show you how much care God takes into his children, how he notices every detail about you, how he's concerned with every tiny thing. He's concerned with every aspect of your being. So listen, and I'm reading from the English Standard Version because it's very easy to understand. O Lord, you have searched me and known me. You know when I sit down and when I rise up. You discern my thoughts from afar. You search out my path and my lying down, and are acquainted with all my ways. Even before a word is on my tongue, behold, O Lord, you know it all together. You hem me in, behind, and before. So you're in front of me, behind me, all around me. You lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is high. I cannot attain it. In other words, you can't even comprehend how much he knows you and how he surrounds you at all times. And he knows everything about you. Verse 7, where shall I go from your spirit? Or where shall I flee from your presence? Verse 11, if I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, and the light about me be night. Even the darkness is not dark to you. The night is bright as the day, for darkness is as light with you. For you formed my inward parts. You knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works, and my soul knows it very well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was being made in secret, intricately woven in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed substance. In your book were written, every one of them, the days that were formed for me, when as yet there was none of them. How precious to me are your thoughts, O God. How vast is the sum of them. If I would count them, they are more than the sand. I want to encourage you to, during this time of family reunions, during this time of family gatherings and fun and fellowship and love and relaxation, travel. This is a time big on travel and exploration, being out in the outdoors and being a part of nature and just enjoying yourself during this warm weather season. Remember the blessings that are yours today because of the sacrifices from yesterday and from the roots that brought you to this point. And then do not forget to be you and to be an individual, even though you're part of this grand scheme of things. Of course, it's good to know your culture. And of course, it's good to know your family roots. But it's also good to know the spiritual side of you and the individual side of you. I believe every year and every day is a day of discovering more of who you are. Be yourself, despite the demands to be somebody else. Be yourself, despite the push for competition to try to become and outdo. You come from greatness. I don't care if your family started with humble beginnings. You came from God, so you come from greatness. We are children of God, kings and queens, so we are greatness automatically. So stop trying to be great. You already are. Jesus was even born in humble conditions in a manger and heralded as king upon his entry into Jerusalem on a donkey. Not how you might expect a king to make his grand entrance. He often kept a low profile and consorted with people from all walks of life, especially the poor and the afflicted. In John 5:3-11, Jesus teaches the Beatitudes, which give special encouragement and honor to those who typically followed him. The poor, the hungry, the thirsty, the disheartened, the humble, the peacemakers, and the persecuted. These are those society tends to disregard, yet Jesus took time to minister to them. A king who serves his subjects. What a beautiful image of love. In this posture, Jesus was more down to earth and approachable. The spirit in which he served others made his love more tangible and impactful. Jesus had no problem submitting to or serving both someone in authority and someone who was technically his subordinate. It greatly pleased God, the Father, for example, when Jesus submitted himself to his cousin John the Baptist's authority and let John baptize him in the Jordan River. In Mark 10:45, Jesus makes it clear that he came into the world not to be served, but to serve and to give his life for mankind's salvation. Who could forget how on the night of the Last Supper before he died, Jesus served his disciples by washing their feet? You might think, shouldn't that be the other way around? Shouldn't they be washing his feet? It was a lesson in humility, servitude, and honor. Jesus wanted them to follow his example as their leader, serving both those under his authority and those who worked alongside him. To me, this further reinforces the fact that Jesus was not a respecter of persons. If you serve all people, despite their status or rank, there's no room for discrimination or inequality. Serving those less fortunate or those under our authority automatically keeps us in a posture of humility. If people are always singing your praises, it could go to your head and manifest itself as arrogance and pride. And with so much focus on self, consequently, love suffers. See how that works? Even the smallest lessons that Jesus taught were deeply profound. Something else amazing happens when we are serving others. It brings joy to both us and those we're serving. You may find that you're happier or happiest when you're giving, serving, and pouring into others. Don't be stingy in your giving and servitude if you want to be abundantly blessed in this way. Love will reward you.
I remember being rushed to the hospital. I had started to lose the ability to stand, the ability to really breathe. I couldn't really walk too well on my own or anything. And I remember Peter coming to pick me up, and I had to go to the hospital, and they rushed me immediately in the back to test everything. But they were going to put me on a ventilator because my breathing levels were just dropping so bad. And I remember I was crying. I was in hysterics. And my mom was on the phone because Peter couldn't come in with me, and she wasn't there at the time. And I remember Mommy called all of you, all of the family, 10-something at night, and you all prayed and warred for me. And right there, while y'all were on that line, they had started to get my breathing to a place to where they felt that he came back and he said, you know, yes, she's going to have to be on 60 liters of oxygen, but we don't find it necessary for us to have to put her on this ventilator now. And I know that was a direct result of the prayer of this family.
Back in 2014, I ended up having to have surgery to remove my thyroid because they found out it was cancerous, and so I had thyroid cancer, and I ended up having to have my thyroid removed, and I ended up having to go through radiation. Didn't have to have chemo, but during the process, after I had the surgery, the doctor had told me that you might not be able to talk above a whisper, and you probably will end up having a raspy voice for the rest of your life. And I went on for I want to say about 6 months without being able to talk above a whisper. I was trying to look for a job during that time as well. I had applied for a job, and I was hoping it would come through. And the job kept calling for me to come in for the training or the interview or whatever, and I couldn't do it. So because I couldn't talk, I had to put Shanae or my mom, I can't remember right now, but one of them had to get on the phone and let them know what was going on. And so they gave me, so despite the fact that it was for training or interview or whatever, they waited until I was able to speak again to give me an opportunity to get the job. But the main thing about that was that my family prayed and I prayed. And after that 6 months time, my voice came back, and I'm able to talk, as you can hear. I was able to get back on the choir and sing, and I got that job that I was waiting for.
I decided to work a late shift for my job. Stayed over a little later than I was supposed to, and left probably by like 10 o'clock at night. I was able to get home, however, during that time. I was walking in the dark, and a guy came up to me at gunpoint and tried to rob me for my stuff. At the time, I was much smaller and I was much quicker, so I was able to get away. He didn't take anything really from me. However, God took me out of that situation, because how in which he placed that weapon, there was really no way of me escaping. It's just by the grace of God that I was able to make it out without injury or harm. Another occurrence was when I got in the accident. Thanks to the prayer of my family and my wife, I made it out of an accident which I shouldn't have walked away from with such minor injuries, with little to no injuries. So I'm just grateful for that as well, and just seeing how severe the accident was, and how even the EMTs and everyone else, when they saw my vehicle, they wondered how I made it out, without literally not a damage on me or anything like that.